Walter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf from
Nate Burleson. You're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you. What is it? The day's Tuesday here from the Pacific Northwest. It's hard to kind of keep track of days nowadays with everything sort of days blending from one into the other, being locked down at home. Hope you guys are all doing well and staying healthy out there. Thanks for joining me on this live stream today. As you saw from the note there, a couple of interesting things during this period while we're still waiting for the question of whether the 2020 season is even going to happen. We're still looking to check out the offseason news and of course the NFL draft right around the corner, which will be happening. I'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, the first thing I had mentioned about Russell Wilson a couple days ago was on Instagram taking some live calls or live messages and answering questions, and at one point he talked about kind of pleading directly to Jadeveon Clowney, hoping he'll come back to the Seahawks. He said, "Clowney, come back. If you're listening, bro, we've got another Super Bowl to win, man. We need you. We need you to come back, Clowney. Clowney, if you can hear me, please come back, bro. I need you, homie." So that's Russell Wilson putting it out there, saying that, personally sending a message to Jadeveon Clowney to hopefully come back to Seattle and join this team. And hopefully another shot at a Super Bowl run. As you know, that's probably the biggest offseason news that all Seahawks fans have been waiting for is, what is up with Clowney. Who's he going to go to? Now we've got the Jets possibly interested. We've got the Titans in the conversation. Maybe even the Browns talking about trying to acquire the services of one Jadeveon Clowney. So, we'll see what happens. I think it will come down to a money situation, but I think if it's close enough, I still am hanging on to that hope that Clowney will come back to join the Seattle Seahawks. I want to thank you guys for joining in the chat. Rohan, Edit Name, Josh Desai, Clement, Cole Tucker, Donald Trump Jr. X, Sorry, Boy, Bryson Posa, TJ Pratt, Preston McGregor, Life with Mackenzie, and a whole bunch of y'all guys chiming in. If you guys want to, you can always do a super chat and get your question out there because I might miss it otherwise. But I'm just going to keep talking about what's going on here. And just a quick note, I'm doing good. Family is pretty much just staying at home. Everyone's healthy here. So my parents, Kuya, Bert, and Shoni are doing all right. So we're fortunate so far to be hanging in there, just riding this out. The school year was officially canceled for the rest of the year. There was talk about possibly coming back at the end of April, possibly early May. The governor just announced yesterday that no more school, at least as far as returning to the classroom, will not happen for the remainder of this 2019-2020 school year. And we'll still find out what happens with 2020 as you guys as well. So on another note, other players talking about other players. A lot of you have been pretty excited, as well as myself. Phillip Dorsett from the New England Patriots, who will be coming to Seattle, was interviewed here with our local radio station, KJR 950, and he was asked about what he thinks about playing with Russell Wilson, and he was pretty excited. Very glowing review of our quarterback, and what he had to say was, from Phillip Dorsett, "I personally believe he's the best deep ball thrower in the NFL. Can't argue with that. He's a magician. I feel like, honestly, I don't think he gets as much credit as he deserves. He's a great quarterback. He can make every type of throw, and it's a blessing that I get to play with him. I can't wait to get there and work with him." So that's some pretty exciting words from Phillip Dorsett, who also said that during this downtime, while he is locked in, has been watching a lot of NFL Game Pass games, watching Russell Wilson's games, and which is why he's that much more excited, having studied him now and looking forward to the possibility, hopefully in 2020, catching a lot of throws from Russell Wilson. So I'm excited too. He had 5 career touchdowns, or a career high 5 touchdowns with the Patriots last year. So hopefully more stuff from him to come and more touchdowns to add to that career mark. Other news: the Seattle Seahawks were represented well in the 2010 All-Decade Team as selected by the NFL Hall of Fame. This is for the 2010 decade. Those Seahawks would include Pete Carroll, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, and Marshawn Lynch. All names that everybody knows and household names as far as the 2010 decade of the Seattle Seahawks are concerned. Pete Carroll joined with, of course, Bill Belichick of the Patriots as the two coaches selected to that team. And, of course, the Patriots had the most players on that team. We had 5, including the coach. The Patriots had 8 selected, including, of course, Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. Things could have been very different if we could have done something different in 2014, 2015 with Super Bowl 49, but we won't talk about that today. But I did want to talk about one more thing here with the NFL draft. The NFL draft is still scheduled to proceed on schedule, April 23rd to the 25th. But it's going to look very different this year, as you can imagine. It was supposed to happen in Vegas on the Strip, on the Bellagio water. They're going to have a whole big setup there with the crowds watching and the players walking out onto this thing under the water, and it was going to be really cool. But that all came to a screeching halt with the COVID-19. So the draft will still happen. It's just going to look very different. They will no longer have the crowds watching the event. The players won't be coming onto the stage to receive their jersey. But really, for the most part, I think ESPN and NFL Network, I believe, are going to be collaborating on coming up with a telecast plan to make this event happen. And I bet some of it will still look somewhat similar. They'll still have highlights of the players. They'll still have the boards that announce, what player movement got done. And Roger Goodell probably will still make his announcements in the same way. In the 2020 NFL draft, the Seattle Seahawks select, blah, blah, blah. And really, probably the one who comes out the best in this situation is Roger Goodell, because probably for the first time in his tenure, he won't get booed during the draft, because that pretty much happens every single time. So we won't hear that this time unless the network puts canned boos in there. But yeah, it'll be more like just more of a telecast with talking heads and maybe some player interviews, via Skype or, FaceTime or something like that. And then a lot of analysts probably on TVs and doing broadcasts from either their home or studio or whatever they might be doing. But that part of it will probably remain the same. And really, when you think about it, the draft is one of those events where it's probably the biggest televised sporting event where nothing really happens. I mean, there's no action. The only action you see is a guy crying when he gets the phone call and then walks up, gets his jersey, high fives the commissioner, gives him a big hug or something, and then that's it, So, I mean, really, this is all that's necessary to really keep up with what's going on. The rest of it's all done by GMs on telephones and coaches calling people, and that's kind of, you can still do all that. So, the draft will continue on. I guess no draft parties. Nobody will be attending, but I'll probably, once I find the broadcast, we'll be doing some live streaming of that, and we can share that and react to those things together, particularly when the Seahawks are on the clock. That's it. I've just got a few more minutes here. Let me see if I can take up any of the questions that you guys might have here. Let's see. Trevor Bailey, is Clowney coming back? OMG. That's the $1 million, or maybe more like the $17 million question that we will find out hopefully in the next few weeks. Louis Leibowitz, Norb, do you have live call-ins to the yearly Seahawks and NFL schedule? Also, Chrysostom to the Hawks. Yes, I will be doing a call-in session again sometime here soon. And yes, the schedule will be coming out in the next couple months. I think the schedule doesn't come out close to the time when they release the season tickets, which usually is early summer. So again, we don't even know if there's going to be a football season this year. It's hard to imagine a fall without football, at least for myself. It's such a regular part of things, but the very real possibility that if things haven't really returned to normal, or at least looks like things are somewhat under control by August, I don't see how we could have a football season. The thought of the way it is right now, this extreme where we can't go out and be around anybody, to suddenly being thrown around 68,000 people in a stadium with people in front of you, beside you, behind you, sneezing, coughing, yelling, spitting, all kinds of stuff. Go Seahawks! Showering down on you, that kind of stuff probably. It's hard to think that in just 4 months from now, we'll be thinking, oh, it's fine. No problem. I can deal. I'm all right. I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be sad if we don't have football, but could we possibly find a hybrid where we go to that possible idea of players playing with just no crowd? And maybe if they can get to a point where they know all the players are completely virus free, they could get them on the field and they could still all play. Hard to know, especially with this sneaky virus that doesn't reveal itself, where you could be carrying it and not know it for like a week or two. So many things where it's difficult to manage this whole thing. MJ Daniel, restroom lines? No thanks. Hey, that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun of going to a game is afterwards, when you've won, everybody's in a good mood. They're all drunk. They're lined up out the door to go to the bathroom, and guys come out from the urinal and they haven't washed their hands yet. Hey, good game, go Hawks! Carry some wipes with you just in case. Preston McGregor, will Russ finally win an MVP? I sure hope so. I'd rather him win a Super Bowl MVP than an MVP. They can give that to Lamar Jackson and the other guys, because Russell Wilson will always be overlooked. I mean, look at, and there were a lot of players that got left off that all-decade list, but Russell Wilson could have easily been put on that list, but, I believe it was Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were on the top of that, the two quarterbacks for that all-decade team. But we'll see. His time is still yet to come, I think, and that's what I would like to see. The next Super Bowl with Russell Wilson as Super Bowl MVP. That would be bang, bang, win-win situation. Joe Nathan says, Russ was my fantasy quarterback last year. He came in clutch. Yep. Just think, with no football, how much, no fantasy, I'm thinking I might have to start getting my long-term goal, which I haven't really launched yet, but I have been wanting to do Madden and simulate the Seahawks season. I'm not very good. I don't play very often, but this would be a great time to start practicing. And if we can't have a real season, well, doggone it, I could simulate the Seattle Seahawks season next year of what the schedule would have been. So I'm going to plan that as a B plan. In case we don't have any actual football, I will simulate the Seattle Seahawks football season on Madden and see how we do. All right, well, I'll try that and see how that goes. Let's see. Jack Rhea says, bro, we're going to be good this year with Quinton Dunbar. I'm excited about Quinton Dunbar. That was a great pickup for Seattle. I'm actually really happy with the way the Seahawks free agency signings have gone. They addressed a lot of offensive line, some D-line, some pass rush, cornerback, a lot of the areas that we've been discussing that we need a little bit of help on. And Quinton Dunbar is definitely a good addition to that secondary. And if we can just get Clowney, the final piece to all this, I think we'd be pretty set. Then, of course, the draft. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited. But every time I get excited, I keep thinking, but what if it doesn't even happen? That's a very real possibility that we could be doing all these moves, drafting, and then nothing. We'll see. We'll have a better idea in a couple of months, I think, by the time June rolls around. Truly Savage, we need Clowney back. Agreed. Seahawks 12, will Russ finally get that protection from that O-line? I should hope so. Against the way Seattle does their free agency, they just don't, they're not the type to sign a big money to, those first day splash players. They're always that kind of second wave team that spends a little bit less to get guys who aren't quite on the big target on the radar. The guys are sort of like, you have to look them up. Who's that guy again? Sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. But, Bricks tie, Norb is a cutie. Thank you. That's the first time I've gotten that comment on the chat. Throw my thought process off. when I do think of the big name signings, then we haven't had a lot of them in free agency, but Percy Harvin and Jimmy Graham come out as two names where we sort of went all out, all in to go get somebody, you know. And it could be argued whether those two signings worked out. I've always said that I thought really in the picture of things, I think they actually did work out to where they contributed to the level that we needed them to. I just think they didn't contribute to the level that people's expectations wanted them to. Percy Harvin helped secure Super Bowl 48. And yeah, it would have been nice if he could have stayed and been a team player the rest of the following season. Could have kept him around, but that just didn't work out. And then Jimmy Graham, while productive as a pass catcher, just